Although the general manager was angry, he screamed and tried to fight hard because of his 12 successes. Suddenly, the green mountain next to him shouted, "Stop!" The manager didn't make another move for a while. It turned out that Qing Jishan used Xiao Ding as a threat again, and his short sword was already compared to Xiao Ding's throat. He said, "Yang Xiaoxie, if you move again, you will kill her." Xiaoxie smiled and said, "Okay. I won't fight, what do you want?" He spread his hands and made a helpless look. Xiaoxie didn't want to fight, but he remembered the old man's words, "If there are concerns, I must protect first, otherwise even if I win, it will be worth the loss." He is now protecting Xiaoding's safety first. Ha ha! Qing Jishan laughed and said, "Yang Xiaoxie, if you restrain your hands, I will let her go." The little evil smiled lightly, "Okay, but how can I trust you? You are a big bastard, a shameless person, whoever wants to believe you is the #1 nerd in the world." Qing Jishan was not angry when he was scolded, he smiled and said, "Yang Xiaoxie, now you can only believe me, because you are at a disadvantage." The little evil shouted, "If you have the wind, you will have the wind, I admit it, how do you say to change it? But I tell you, if you want to arrest someone, the trick is also a little brighter. The girl who was captured by you is not a nobody, if you provoke her, I guarantee that you Huashan Pika will be dead." He wants Qing Jishan to be jealous of Xiao Ding's identity, so he can protect Xiao Ding from unnecessary harm. Qing Jishan glanced at Xiao Ding and shouted in disbelief, "Yang Xiaoxie, who will you bluff to find her? It's just your concubine." Xiaoxie sighed, "Concubine, alas, brother, I don't have this blessing. For the sake of your Huashan faction, you better let her go. It's okay to sue you, she is the baby, Xiao Bao, the world's largest gang leader of the beggar gang, you provoke her and move her hair, at that time, as long as the beggar brothers spit on a mouthful of saliva, you can drown all the people of your Huashan faction, and if you don't think about yourself, you should think about your old man." Qing Jishan knew that no matter how strong the Huashan faction was, he would not dare to provoke the beggar gang. As Xiaoxie said, as long as the beggar brothers spit on the phlegm, the Huashan faction must drown. There are so many beggars and disciples that they can't be killed, and they can't be killed. But Qing Jishan is cunning and suspicious by nature, he will not let Xiao Ding go for the sake of Xiao Xiaoxie's 2 sentences. He was a little suspicious, "I don't believe it, you are." Xiaoxie was secretly amused in his heart, and he said, "Nonsense, alas, I just finished the nonsense meeting yesterday, and I am too tired to talk nonsense with you anymore. If you don't believe it, just look at the rich and expensive section hanging around her waist, and you should know if she is a beggar disciple." Qing Jishan squinted and glanced at Xiao Ding's waist, the red rope not connected to the small silver bell. It's okay not to look at it, this time, he has lost his soul, and trembled. Isn't that what is the beggar gang's rich festival? But he is also ruthless enough. If you let Xiao Ding go, you will inevitably not be able to escape the level in front of you. When he said these words, he didn't dare to hold out much hope, and it could even be said that he couldn't find the words to answer Xiaoxie, so he reluctantly said this sentence. Xiaoxie knew that even if the head of Huashan came in person, he might not dare to touch a single hair of Xiao Ding, but he was also worried that he would force Qing Jishan and hurt Xiao Ding. He chuckled, "You let her go, I'll let you take it back." Even the little evil of the flying dragon castle is not in his eyes, let alone the little Huashan faction. Xiao Ding saw that Xiaoxie looked like this, and she couldn't care about being in danger. In her heart, Xiaoxie was much more important than herself. She shouted urgently, "Xiao Ye, don't worry about me. He doesn't dare to do anything to me. You go quickly, ignore me." Xiaoxie opened his mouth and shouted, "What? You think you are very good? Just now you were still calling for help, and now the tip of the knife is against your throat, and you still mean that people dare not do anything to you?" Full of self-absorption. He didn't consider Xiaoding's care, and he told the truth in a slippery way. It's really too much to give Xiaoding face. At this juncture, it's really a shame that Xiao has all this time to talk nonsense. Xiaoding really couldn't cry or laugh when he heard it, and he gritted his teeth with hatred, blaming Xiaoxie for not understanding the situation. Xiaoxie smiled proudly and said, "Xiaoding, it's right for you to go first. Go back with Xiaoqi, and then find someone to save me. This is right." Although Xiaoding muttered in her heart that Xiaoxie was so faceless just now, she still cared more than she was resentful, and she shouted, "I don't want it. You can't fall into the hands of someone else." Qing Jishan was afraid that something would change after a long time, so he hurried to exchange when Xiaoxie agreed to exchange now, and he shouted, "Okay. Yang Xiaoxie, do you want to change it? If you don't change it, I'll kill her." The short sword slashed at Xiaoding's throat again, ready to stab. Xiaoxie said disdainfully, "Who do you want to bluff in Qingjishan? Stabbing your mother's head? You dare to stab? I will change. Quickly call someone to kidnap me." Now it is he who orders Qing Jishan and teaches Qing Jishan a lesson. Qing Jishan paused for a moment and immediately shouted, "Boss, you first order his A-cup ointment, and then tie him up." As soon as the words fell, he secretly laughed to himself. After all, Xiaoxie still cared about Xiaoding being restrained. The manager immediately came over to point the little evil hole, and the little evil pretended to fall to the ground. Xiaoxie shouted, "Qing Jishan, so you can let Xiaoding go, right?" He turned to Xiaoqi again, "Xiaoqi, wait a minute, you have to take care of Xiaoding, and then bring someone to save me." Xiaoqi hasn't moved since he came in and broke the house, and he feels that people are very complicated. "I don't know what to do is suitable." Without the instructions of the little evil, he does not dare to move. He is afraid of ruining the plan of the little evil. Now that the little evil has instructions, he nodded happily. Unconsciously, his right hand has grasped the cold jade iron, has a great momentum to show his skills. Qing Jishan really didn't dare to embarrass Xiaoding, so he laughed a few times and let Xiaoding go. The chief manager also brought the little evil in front of Qing Jishan. Xiaoding held a mouthful of resentment in her heart, and she also walked towards Xiaoqi with her mouth open. Wanted to let Xiaoxie suffer a little before saving him, so she didn't say a word. Xiaoxie counted Xiaoding's steps, and when he thought Xiaoding was safe, he smiled and said, "Qing Jishan, I have fallen into your hands. How do you want to deal with me? It must be very miserable, right?" Qing Jishan smiled and said, "Yang Xiaoxie, I will slowly cut off your flesh piece by piece, and then stuff it with salt, so that you can't survive and die, and Afu will tie him up." At this time, Xiaoxie found that there was another Afu huddled under the corner of the house. The little evil smiled and said, "It's all here. I'm thinking it's strange. How can there be one less person to do such a bad thing?" Afu was originally a little afraid of Xiaoxie, but now that he saw that Xiaoxie was restrained, he also walked over arrogantly and was about to tie Xiaoye with a thick rope in his hand. Xiaoye suddenly turned over and patted, and the person stood up and slapped Afu. Chuckled, "Afu, you want to have another toothache before your headache is cured, don't you?" Suddenly, Qing Jishan was shocked like a dog who had lost his family, retreated several steps in a row, and fled for a while. Afu was beaten by this slap and broke his teeth, rolled on the ground to find his teeth. He was born at the wrong time, and suffered again and again. The manager was even more surprised. He clearly clicked on the Xiang A cup ointment on the back of the little evil. Why the little evil is not controlled? This hesitation, the little evil has been difficult. Angry shout. The body is like a dragon smashing the sea, like a river bursting embankment. And Xiao Ding was also unceremoniously attacked Afu, and the three of them shot like electricity at the same time, which was unbelievable. Xiaoxie is particularly interested in King Jishan. This grab, a take, a turn, has been frightened Qing Jishan to the wall. Bang, a huge sound. Qing Jishan is already a gold star in his eyes. I don't know where the east, west, north, and south are. Xiaoxie deceived himself, raised his right palm, and slapped Qing Jishan hard with a snap, and with his feet, he had put Qing Jishan in the corner. Qing Jishan's eyes and nose were swollen, and he screamed in pain, and his injuries were not light.